call the meeting to order. If you would, we appreciate all of you here tonight. And if you would, please bow your heads and have the commission's invocation. Almighty God, our Father, we ask you to bless this assemblage tonight. Be with the citizens of Harris County. Protect them, comfort them, heal them. We ask, O Lord, that you be with your commissioners as they debate the things that come before us and guide us so that we would do the things that are best for this county in the long run. O Lord, we thank you for all the blessings that you have given us, and we ask that you particularly be with our county attorney's wife who had neck surgery today and reportedly came through very, very well. We ask these things in Christ's name. Amen. If you would please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have before you the minutes from our April the 3rd meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we be approved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I have one addition I would like to make. That's in paragraph 4C, and I would like to insert that the committee, the working committee, will consist of citizens. When I spoke about it last meeting, I wanted to make sure that we at least had citizens from the unincorporated area. I just want to make sure we do that. So it's about halfway down. The working committee to include citizens will be needed to assist with the update. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines up.
So committee to include citizens from the unincorporated areas?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I'll amend my second.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. Okay, and Nancy, any citizens?
Yes, sir. I'd like to speak about item number 8.
Okay. Thank you. We'll cover them at that point. All right. Tonight we have the second reading of an application of Ross Mitchell, package store located at 5030 Georgia Highway 219, Fortson. He's asking for a beer, wine, and liquor off-premises package store. Sheriff's Department has indicated approval. The Health Department is not applicable. Community Development is recommended for approval. Mr. Mitchell, do you have any comments you would like to make, sir, at this point in time?
Not in addition to what I said last week, if you got it 2 weeks ago, if you remember.
All right, sir. All right. Are there any citizens here that wish to speak in favor of this application? Any citizens wishing to speak in favor? All right. Any wishing to speak in opposition to this? Any in opposition? All right. Hearing none, and we do have that application. It is ready for a motion, and I will entertain the same.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the application for beer, wine, and liquor off-premise license at the package store for the applicant Ross K. Mitchell.
Thank you, Ms. June. Do you have a second?
Second.
A second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. All right, sir. See Ms. McMichael, you have everything taken care of?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good luck to you. Thank you, sir. Any other old business? New business, we have an application, the applicant from Mindy McGuire, Tricky Dick's Oyster Bar, location 6052 Georgia Highway 85, Ellerslie, former location of Osahatchee Oyster Bar. Type of license requested is beer and wine on premises. Sheriff's Department has recommended approval. Community Development, approval pending meeting building code. What's the status of that?
They're good.
It's good, that was, should have stopped the approval.
Okay, all right. And the Health Department, approval pending.
With the issues.
Issues with this, so, this is the first reading. Ms. McGuire, are you here? Would you like to make any comments at this point for the commission? Certainly, you may. Let me make one other comment first. This has been before us before, on December the 5th, 2017. However, you had to, within 45 days, pay for the license as set out in the alcohol ordinance, and that did not occur. Therefore, in order to obtain a proper alcohol license, a new application and process is required, and that's what we're doing. Please come forward, if you would, to the table. Just state your name and address.
Richard McGuire, 5044 Georgia Highway 85, Ellerslie, Georgia. In regards to the health department, Mr. Rice has been to the Oyster Bar on several occasions, and the last time he was there on 3/26, he did, in the letter he gave to my wife, he says that he's reviewed and approved the permanent food service application and plan review for Tricky Dick's Oyster Bar, located at 6052 Georgia Highway 85, and have conducted an on-site inspection of the facility and established that Tricky Dick's Oyster Bar is in compliance with the Harris County Health Department requirements for a food service permit. The inspection will be conducted one day prior to opening, and we just want to make sure. I mean, does that not meet the requirements for what he wants? What else do we need to get from him?
The permit,
So
the food permit that you're going to put on your wall.
will we not be able to get that until one day prior to opening?
You'll be able to do it before. Should be able to, you have in the past. I mean, the other businesses have in the past.
Okay. Well, she's trying to call me. I think he's out of town until tomorrow, I think. And so we'll get him back down. She's ready to go otherwise, and so we'll get him back down there to talk about that. The only thing I really we wanted to ask you is that, you know, like you said, we were down here again because of Aaron Herfars has been so busy working with the building and trying to get this building up to code and get it started, which she's ready now, and her plan was to open up on May 1st. And we were hoping, and I just wanted to ask, is it possible to, if she can get the application from Mr. Rice? She's already got a business license, she's already been approved by the health department, she's got her certificate of occupancy and everything else. Would it be possible to forego the second reading so she could go ahead and apply for her state license? So she could get her county liquor license or beer and wine license, so she could go ahead and apply, so she could go ahead and at least try to open up on schedule.
I would refer to our attorney, but we had two readings because it's for the public to be able to come in and comment, so I don't think we can comply with that request.
I can look at the code, but if the code requires 2 readings, then the code requires 2 readings.
It does. So no, yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, are there any citizens here who wish to speak in favor of this application? Any here wishing to speak in favor? All right, are there any citizens here who wish to speak in opposition? Any in opposition? All right, hearing none, this is the first reading. The second reading will be held at our next meeting, which is May the 1st. So we will see you then. Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is the financial statement for February of this year, which you had been provided, which was provided to you in early April, earlier this month. I would entertain a motion for this.
Make a motion that we accept the financial statement for February as presented.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion?
Yes. There's two items. The first was, why is the unemployment compensation so much higher this year? We're running 134.
Oh, that was a one-time bill I'll give. So it's all been paid for. So there's no more money coming out of those accounts.
But they're still higher than what you would
Wait a minute.
expect.
You're not talking about the insurance, are you? You're talking about the actual
Unemployment claims.
compensation?
That bill is sprinkled in all the departments, and then the bill comes once a year. Or when everybody gets out, oh, that's workers' comp. When everybody gets out, if there's anybody unemployed, then we pay that. So, and it's a formula that we put in everybody's budget.
It still seemed like it was much higher this year than according to that law, was 140% to 150%.
We can look at that more clear, more fully.
Please do.
And the other thing was on, is there any particular reason why the probate court and the Superior Court is so much slower?
In the revenue collections?
Yes.
We've asked the same questions. Just the caseload, I guess, is not coming through. And therefore, with less caseload, there's less fines. Less fines, there's less revenue. But even in next year's budget preparation, the trend for those revenue sources from those courts are low. Or maybe another way to look at it, the previous years might have been budgeted too high.
Well, it's just 130, 40% low.
That's right.
You know, it's
And during the budget meetings, we did ask those courts, why is it so low? They said, well, it's just not enough cases, not enough fines, or they're being adjudicated in other ways. But, one of my thoughts is maybe it was budgeted too high in the previous years. But we can get a trend on that.
okay. I would appreciate that.
I've got one question under the IT. All the departments on the expense side of it are certainly either under or right at their expenditures as they should be now. A couple of them are just a touch over, but one of them is what I would call significantly over, and that's IT. Are we handling that so that by year end we will not be over budget in that one?
We're trying very hard. The IT budget was the first budget. This is the first year of the IT budget. It was prepared very cheaply. And what we're finding is a lot of things are needed to be repaired and replaced, and that we're repairing and replacing them as we find the need to. So those things are. And we did not budget some of the internet services that we just got from Point Broadband. We didn't know that amount until after the budget was approved. So that's coming out of this line, out of this budget. So in next year's budget, you'll see the IT greatly increase due to the need for better IT security, better IT firewalls, better IT things. And being the first year of the department, there was a learning curve with it.
All right, any other discussion? Any other questions? All right, we have a motion. Oh, we already have the motion. I'm sorry. All in favor of that motion, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. Okay, surplus property. You handling that, Mr. Dowd?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners, the good news is the 2 trucks that were ordered about 6 to 8 months ago have been delivered, and they are operational this week. And there is a story on our website where the 2 trucks were delivered, including a photo. So again, the 2 trucks have been delivered to replace 2 older trucks. And here are the older trucks, a 1995 Isuzu and a 2001 Freightliner. So we want to declare these 2 old garbage trucks as surplus, since we got the 2 new ones in, and have the board authorized selling these trucks on gov deals, and then put the money back into solid waste fund reserves.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve these 2 vehicles.
Have a second.
I second.
Okay. Discussion. Do we have garbage trucks in reserve?
Yes.
So with
Yes.
these 2, we still have our safety factor.
Yes.
Okay, and I assume we're getting rid of the worst.
The worst ones.
Okay.
Well, a 95 and 2001. No, I don't do the math, but those are old trucks.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. Anyone else have any new business? I would like to mention one thing under new business. Is you recall at our last meeting, we did set this next Tuesday, the 24th, for a special call meeting starting at 5:30 here in this room, 5:30 ending about 7:30, to lay out kind of the first bit on the comp plan, which has to be done. The first 15-20 minutes of that 2-hour session will be handled by the River Valley Regional Commission, Mr. Rick Morris, as to kind of the timeline and what we need to do. The time after he is finished, we agreed that we needed to open this up to the county, that we need to begin discussions as to where we want to, how we want to grow, where we want to grow, and to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to say something. Not everyone can talk at this next meeting, obviously, because just in 2 hours we're not going to be able to do that. But we will have a meeting here that will involve the Board of Education, the Planning Commission, the Board of Commissioners, the mayors of all of the cities, and the city councils, as the Chamber of Commerce, and probably the representative from each of the fire departments, the sheriff, so that we can kind of look and discuss in general where we are, kind of what may or may not hit us, and what we need to be looking at as we grow. And then from that meeting, assuming there is general consensus that we do want to go ahead and begin looking at these types of things, we will then have a much smaller committee, or maybe even smaller subcommittees, to begin dealing with these issues that will help us formulate where we go. As a result, now the comp plan has to be done by June of 2019. And as soon as we get that settled and done, then we can also look at any other ordinances that might be necessary to handle the growth, or the growth that's already happened, and get those things in order. So anybody is welcome to come, any citizen is welcome to come, as well as those groups. I hope we have a room full here so that folks can really hear kind of where we are, what our concerns are, and look at different ways of moving forward and how we're going to do that. So please spread the word to other folks. We'd love to have a standing room only crowd. Thank you very much. Any other new business? All right, next portion is the county manager. And first is proposal award for the prison inmate health services. Mr. Jolly, are you going to talk about that, or is the warden?
I'll do a little preface. Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners, again, the prison inmate health services contract had expired. So we went out for bid to see what the market would look like to provide inmates, prison inmate health care services. We did get a lot of bids in at various amounts. I'm going to let Warden Nelson go through those bids and the pricing and her recommendation on who to use for inmate medical services at the prison.
Thanks, sir. Warden.
We received 5 bids for the prison health services. The companies that submitted bids was Quality Correctional Healthcare, Southern Correctional Medicine, Correctional Medical Associates, Southern Health Partners, and Correct Health. Quality Correctional Healthcare is our current provider. They came in with a bid for $152,000. Southern Correctional Medicine came in with a bid of $144,000. Correctional Medical Associates came in with a bid of $220,514.40. Southern Health Partners, they came in with a bid of $175,380. Correct Health came in with a bid of $123,428.04. This is an annual cost. We will pay a monthly fee for the services that the winning bidder will provide. They did come in with the information of what we requested as far as services for the inmate health care. The only thing is that anything over our average daily population, some of the providers wanted to charge us a per diem per day, which is not good.
Warden Nelson, if you say some of them, but in the sheet we have, I guess it listed per diem for all of them. So, and would you please explain to us, the first 3 on this list were up to a certain dollar amount per day.
Right.
The last 2 is a much lower number, $3.95, $1.25. What is, kind of equate those to us so we can understand that?
Well, in per diem, if I go over 150 inmates per provider, they will pay for each inmate per day that's at that facility, whether they see the inmate or not. They want a per diem for the inmate that is currently housed at that facility. Like Southern Correctional Medicine, they wanted $3.95 per day per diem for an inmate.
Per inmate?
Per inmate.
Over the 150?
Over 150, that's correct.
What's your maximum capacity?
Our maximum capacity is 150, but we have been up as high as 153.
So, what did the first 3 then, where we have a much higher number, says up to, what is that based? Is that based on X number of inmates?
Yes, yes, sir.
So Correct Health won't charge anything up to 170 people.
Right.
After that.
Oh, okay, oh, that's up to people. I was interpreting it as dollars.
No.
Yeah.
So was I.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so,
But our maximum capacity is 150. And their Correct Health is saying that they will not charge us per diem if we go up to 170 in case we want to expand in the future.
okay.
But some of the providers in their bid said if we go over 150, like 151 or 152, they're going to charge us a per diem.
So if you run 153 or 160, there's no
additional charge.
Prisoners. Okay.
Yes.
And what's the $122.50 then for correctional medicine compared to the other dollar figures at $3.95 and $1.25?
That's no.
That was their per diem?
That's what they put in the bid.
So that we are to interpret that also as per prisoner per day?
That's correct.
Okay.
How does this cost compare to what we are currently paying?
quality control, correctional health care, currently, we pay approximately $116,000 per year now. That we're out of contract with them, but they came in with a $44,000 bid higher. And for what reason, I don't know why. I guess they saw an opportunity to go up in price, but the same services were being offered that they currently offer now, but they just came in a whole lot higher now.
And do they currently charge any kind of bill of the 160?
No.
Is that same, they don't have a per diem right now?
No, no,
So this was just their new bid?
that's a new bid.
And how many years have they been?
Since 2013.
I noticed that that this is a 4-year contract within two-year renewals, so that's 8 years. Do you think that that's a little bit long before we rebid?
The additional contract is for four years, and we have an option to put it out for bid after the 4th year. So if we do, we have that option to rebid it out if we are unhappy with the services.
I just thought 8 years was a long time.
No, it's just an option.
Out of curiosity, what would the per diem be if you went over 170 meetings?
They did not give that to me, I don't think so. Because the maximum number of beds I have at the facility right now is, for operations capacity is 150, but with the segregation beds, I have 162. So I do not see us going anywhere close to that 170.
Would the state even let us go that far over the rated capacity?
No,
So that's not going to happen
no, no, sir.
unless we add to the.
Unless you add to the facility itself.
Will the annual fee be, or monthly fee be the same throughout the first 4 years?
They will ask for a percentage increase, but no more than 3%
Per year,
per year.
but nothing's built in yet.
Nothing's built in there. They just go by what the cost of the previous year. Like for instance, if I have more inmates to go out for medical emergencies, they might consider, the cost that it's costing us to take them to the emergency room or something like that.
And that's standard with all of the others.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Well, even looking at that, if you look at the 3%, it would take at least 5 years before the one you were recommending would be up to the next lowest bidder. So by then, the contract would be up for renewal anyway.
That's correct.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from Direct Health of Atlanta, Georgia, at $123,428.
In 4 cents.
And 4 cents.
Also,
All right. Do I have a second?
yes, I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion or questions? All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Warden. And Warden Nelson is doing an excellent job out there. By the way, what's the camera system? How do you do it?
It's scheduled to start installation on May 7th.
May the 2nd?
7th.
7th, okay,
Yes.
thank you, ma'am. The next item has to do with an agreement with the city of West Point regarding animal control services. Dallin, you got that one?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners, this is an agreement, an intergovernmental agreement between the county and the city of West Point. We have an existing contract with them that's somewhat aged, but it still works. But since the county's updated its fee schedule recently, we want to update West Point's fee schedule in accordance with our own fee schedule. So it'll be effective to the city also. So you can see the $10 charge currently for dogs and cats will go up to $35. Any dog or cat over 6 months old. Puppy or kitten is currently $5, and that will go to $20. And right now, if the city of West Point captures an animal and gives it to us, and it requires vet services, the county pays 100%. The West Point doesn't pay anything. Under the new agreement, all vet costs associated with West Point's animals that they bring to us will be 100% paid by the city through an invoice per month. So basically, I think this is a good contract. It's basically a housekeeping measure to increase the fees to reflect our current updated fee schedule. The city of West Point has agreed to it and signed it, and now I recommend the board sign it, and it'll go into effect May 1st.
Do I have a motion?
I make the motion to approve the new fee schedule.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion. I have a question. I notice in here that the animals, when they are surrendered, they transfer the ownership. That really should be in quotes, I guess, because they probably belong to someone. Of those animals, and they become the property of the county, can be adopted out or euthanized in accordance with the ordinance. And that is with our existing ordinance. So the city of West Point does not then have any control over saying, yes, you got to euthanize or no, you don't. Okay.
The minute they are transferred to our ownership at the facility, they become our asset. It's kind of weird to say in the dog or cat, but it is dogs and cats are marketable in this sense. So they become our asset, and then they fall under our ordinances, current or new. And the city really has no interest nor any standing in what we do with them after that.
I was just wondering because I know we try and adopt animals out as opposed to euthanization, and now with the new higher rates, I didn't want them coming to us and saying, oh, 2 months you've had that dog, we want to get rid of it. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Yes, I have 2 questions, please. One, I noticed that it didn't include that grooming when an animal comes in really in bad need and for health purposes needs to be groomed. And the other question I have is, does West Point deliver the animals to us?
Yes.
Is that in here? Did I overlook that?
But basically, West Point, they capture their own animals. They have their own animal control person. They don't have a facility. So basically, they bring all their animals to us. But at least we're going to recapture any vet costs associated with the sick animal. We can also capture, I would say, any grooming fees.
I just think
That's mandatory, that we need.
I just felt like maybe it should be in there. I know it was in our ordinance with that.
I would consider that vet cost.
I guess then we need to be sure that the vet says it's necessary.
Right.
Something like that.
So we can recoup our costs. That's a good point.
Well, or make them presentable for possible adoption. Okay. All right, any other discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is the Ellerslie Park Concept Plan. I know that Judge Loudermilk is here to weigh in on this to some degree, and Randy, I don't know whether you or Brian or...
I'll preface.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners, the Ellerslie Park Concept Plan, this has been a project on the program of work number 26 for a year now. I've been here 18 months, and it's been an active project since then. There is money in this year's budget allocated for the park, namely the previous sale of land proceeds of about $308,000, and some SPLOST 2014 money in the current year's budget to begin the development of this park. It really hasn't begun. As staff has time, we have developed a concept plan for this park prepared by professional consultant Carter Sloop, and they are landscape architects. We do have a concept plan. It's been reviewed by Parks and Rec, Community Development, the Loudermilks, and has gone through many revisions. And so this is the revision that we want to bring to the board for consideration and ultimate approval, and then moving toward development. There is money in this year's budget. There's money in next year's budget to begin the development of the park. And I have a 4 or 5 phase development schedule for the park. So basically, that's it in a nutshell. So basically, we're recommending tonight the board approve the concept plan, move forward with development of phase 2, and Carter Sloop has a proposal in here to start beginning the design process. The design namely of the turn lanes required by DOT, the internal road design in order to bid that out with bid specs and bid documents, and permitting for a pedestrian bridge over some swampy areas to make a loop around the lake, maybe in building the bridge, a pedestrian bridge. And so those kind of designs. So Carter Sloop is asking for almost $60,000 to design phase 2. And that includes entrance features to get the project, at least to get the park open to the public with minimal attractions.
That was my question, is at which phase would it be open to the public? After which phase?
After phase 2. So after phase 2, that could be open to the public, again with minimal amenities. And then phase 3, 4, and 5 will be just adding amenities, pavilions, playgrounds, those sorts of things.
What was the original sales price of the land that was Ridgeway Road that was sold and funds being used here?
I want to say it was $380,000 from memory. 380.
And the other was used toward the lodge, is that
No.
correct?
I think the balance was used to pay expenses associated with this, surveying fees for the road, and other kind of fees.
I was thinking we'd use more of those fees than we had, so good.
Right now, we have about $308,888 earmarked for this project.
Good deal.
So who is the park committee that's referenced in this item?
That was the previous park committee of several years ago that hasn't met in years.
2 years.
2 years, haven't met 2 years.
So it says the final version is based upon the park committee's recommendations, so.
Several years ago.
That was with public input when Joe was on, he was kind of the chairman of that whole thing.
So there were, so Joey, I'll ask you, so there were citizens, other citizens on that committee?
6 or 7 citizens, yes.
From that district, from District 5?
From around the neighborhood.
That's what I would know, was there some kind of public input?
Question, in the green space, as to what is envisioned with that?
In
Just a
Is
play
this
area,
in-
Just a grassy area?
just a grassy area, which the playground will be just above it. We're trying to incorporate slides that will go with contours of the land. Stephen's been looking into that type of stuff for the playground, and the green space is just to allow kids to run and play and picnic or whatever they want to in that area, and have the playground right next to it, so it would be a gathering point.
Thank you.
The only comments that I've received from residents is that they're concerned about safety and security surrounding the park. And was there any inclusion or discussion about security cameras or?
There was discussion of it, but that is something that we've never put into the budget. But you could do it minimally with just game cameras. That would, because it's only going to be open from dawn to dusk.
That was my next question, was what would the
It would just
hours
be a
of
dawn to
operation be?
dusk. Daylight overrun.
We would spec gates that were electronic, so they would open electronically at a certain hour and then close electronically at a certain hour. And if you're caught inside, that there is a mechanism to open the gate and get out. So
Then close automatically behind you?
correct, correct. And they make gates like that.
Yes. And the plan was also to have staff there during a lot of the hours as well.
So dawn to dusk is going to be more than 40 hours?
Well,
You would need,
it would be, the staff would be there the whole time, but for there most of the time.
it would be a lot like Flat Rock Park, where it's open.
Please don't say that. That's
I understand.
one of the huge complaints I had today, was it's gonna be like Flat Rock Park.
But I don't know if you've been to Flat Rock lately, but it is very open, it's very well controlled, very well managed. It used to be a ruckus at one time, but that's because the teenagers made it that way about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Myself included.
And,
You know, go there. Statute of limitations,
Yeah, that's
let's
right.
say.
There's also been discussion about a sheriff's substation there, and on the plan, there are 26 parking spaces on that corner. Does that leave space for a future sheriff's substation? I know it would be an unmanned station, I know it would be a small
We can modify that parking area easily.
restroom or whatever.
We can modify that parking area easily to accommodate a small building there if we want to.
One time we had discussed not paving the road, and I see that's in here.
It's a gravel internal road.
But in another phase, it's paved, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, paved.
Correct.
Oh, so that's still in the,
It's gravel initially, but then as time moves forward, it's eventually paved.
It's in phase 4.
Phase 4. Okay.
And don't confuse gravel with just your regular gravel road. This is a hard compact pipe that we could do to keep the dust down and things like that.
How wide are the trails?
We've designed them at 8 foot wide, we've cut them at 8 foot wide, so that the emergency vehicle that Skip has, that Polaris that he has, can maneuver through there easily. It will not be, you can't get a vehicle down there on these trails.
By vehicle, you mean standard vehicle?
A standard vehicle, yes.
You know, that has been a concern that has been brought up by some of the residents over that way. And I think, I know what you're asking for tonight, and I would think that we could go ahead with the vote, but I do think there have to be conditions with that would allow us to change the phases or change some of the specifics. There is concern that some folks might be able to get in there and fit four-wheelers or something else at night after it's closed and going in through the trailhead, which could be a security issue, not only for what we have there in the park, but for the possibility of nefarious activities happening that we don't want to have to deal with.
A simple bollard system would take care of that, just by placing bollards, concrete block bollards in place, and sleeves that could be removable if you needed to access with an emergency. Or, and other than that, if somebody wants to get in the park, I mean, because they can get in now, even though we got gates, they know where to go. I've run many people off.
Now, that brings up another point. On the back property line, Pike Drive ends right there on the property line, and I know kids go in there and fish. I mean,
Right.
Are we going to put up any kind of ballards or anything right at the end of that road, or any kind of security on that property line?
There was talk along the east property line of doing a fence along that whole property line at one time, at least a 6
But it's
foot.
not in any of these
It's
phases?
not in the budget because it is expensive.
But if it
That
becomes a
property
problem,
line
that
is-
might be something in the future we might have to go in and do.
Right. That property line is easily half a mile long.
It's easily,
Half mile.
yes. But it's pretty, is it pretty dense most of the way?
Most of the way
Throughout?
it is. In fact, you could, once you went past Pike Drive and got to the dam section, you could probably do without a fence from there all the way to Central Church. I just don't see people coming through that dense forestry
Yeah,
with anything.
and if they are, if they're going to do that, they're going to
They're
go across
gonna do it
this.
whether we got a fence or not.
All right, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. Yeah.
Outside of the speak.
Yes, please,
Mr. Clark
Joe.
was the only person who spoke up to speak about this.
And a lot of what I was going to talk about has already been discussed, and I'll be glad to answer questions as well. Mr. Daly mentioned a year and a half, and that sort of thing. This has been 5 years. 5 years since Ramona and my foundation donated the proceeds to buy the property, $700,000. And since then, we've also donated over $200,000 for the lodge. So that's where the funds came from for the lodge. And I believe y'all have all been there and seen the property itself, seen the lodge itself. The lodge is completed. That's the only thing that's been completed in that park so far is the lodge, which I'm the one that hired the contractor and got it done. I took some of our fellow citizens out to the park a couple of Sundays ago, and folks that have not been back there to see the property, their jaws dropped because it is absolutely gorgeous. This was a Sunday afternoon, spring, the day was very similar to today, sun shining, glimmering on the lake, and they were just amazed at what a beautiful piece of property this is. This is an asset for the county that's been sitting there since 2013. Ramona and I, frankly, have been a little frustrated that it's taken so long to get to this point. And I'm encouraged from what I've heard tonight. I'm encouraged by what's happening here. I want to commend Brian Williams. Brian has been on this. I think it's more than just a job for him. I think it's an act of love for him. And of course, this is in his neighborhood as well. And when we were there, like I said, it was such a beautiful day to look around and look at the lake on the huge deck on the back of the lodge. The thing that struck me was there was nobody there. And we need to move and get this park up. The 5th district, my former district now, Dr. Andrews' district, is the largest district in the county population-wise. We did redistricting in 2012, and there were 7,000 people that live in the 5th district. And it's the fastest growing part of the county, and yet we have nothing, no parks or anything in the district, with the exception of the walking trail in the middle of Waverly Hall and the tennis courts and the ball field right there and batting cage in Waverly Hall. That actually belongs to the city of Waverly Hall. As far as any other access to the parks, there's just nothing there. And so, yeah, primarily it's for the neighborhood, the neighbors around there, but of course this is available for all the Harris County citizens, not just for those in the LO3 Waverly Hall area. I just encourage commissioners to move on this, and I appreciate what the commission is doing tonight. As Randy mentioned, Ramona and I have looked at the plan. Brian came to our house and we looked over it and had a long discussion about it. Ramona and I do approve this plan, with one exception. We would like to see the Harris County Sheriff's Precinct substation put back on the plan. And there's been some confusion, I guess I would use that word, about whether the sheriff wants a substation here. And I've heard it both ways. In fact, I ran into the sheriff outside the courthouse a couple weeks ago and specifically asked him the question. I said, I've heard, Mike, that you really don't want a substation there at the red light in LC. And he said, that's not true. Now, I understand he may have told other people other things. I don't know about that. All I know is what he told me when I asked him the question specifically. And he said no, he was in favor of that. And the security issue, that's one of the things that we talked about when we bought this property from the Willis family back in 2013. And in fact, I was very much involved in that, along with our county attorney, Mr. Taylor. And you know, we wanted to be very specific when the property was bought that this would be used for recreation purposes as a passive park. And as a result of that, I lost my train of thought there. One of the things that we talked about specifically as an exception to being used strictly for recreation as a park was a that share substation. And the reason for that is, first of all, like I said, it's the biggest population center and fastest growing part of the county, but also we wanted to provide security for the park and to have a presence in that area. And the sheriff told me he liked the idea of having maybe even if nobody's there to have a patrol car parked at that location to have presence. In fact, at the very beginning, we were going to give the sheriff one of the rooms in the lodge so he could have a sheriff's office there. And he said he really didn't want that. He wanted something a little more accessible. And so that's when we discussed putting it properly on that corner. So I understand that Mr. Chill, who is a neighborhood activist, and you may have heard from him, I think he has some concerns about the trailheads in the north and south. I don't, and Ramona and I don't. This is a beautiful piece of property. I know you guys face a lot of controversial issues about development and so forth. I feel your pain. I've sat where you sit. There's nothing controversial about this park. Everybody wants a park. And this is a way of preserving green space in perpetuity for our citizens and it's protected from any type of development. I want to say one thing about our county manager. I was on the commission when Randy was hired, and I very much supported hiring Randy, and one of the biggest reasons was he had a reputation in his former positions with other counties of handling projects and getting things done. And so that was, he had other qualities as well, but that's the one that I like the most. And I have confidence that if this commission gives Mr. Dowell the marching orders, this thing can happen quick. I know about money, I know about budgets, that's always a problem. I think there's money out there. Randy's already indicated what's already, what we already have in the bank for the project. I think there's other money out there as far as grants, that's what I'm being told. And also, and I'm authorized by Ramona to tell you guys this, that our foundation would certainly consider even a bigger gift, an additional gift toward this property to get this thing done. She also tells me that that would come with conditions as far as getting things done by certain times. So we'll be glad to look at that as well. Anyway, I'll conclude by saying I appreciate the fact that this is going forward now, and let's get this park open. Long before the retirement of Commissioner Woods and Commissioner Cheney, we had a nice ribbon cutting for the library, as you know, a couple weeks ago. I want them to still be commissioners when we have a ribbon cutting for to open this new park. And so I just would commend that to you. And I would certainly encourage the commission to adopt the plan as stated, with the exception of the substation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I have had a conversation with the sheriff, and he has mixed feelings. I mean, he would like, yes, he would like to have it there. Certainly it would help. I think part of it is staffing, having the staff to do it in that facility.
And he has his own budget concerns as far as paying for it.
He does. I had another suggestion made to me today by a citizen that I want to at least mention here because it's something I don't think we should forget about. We've been talking about the Harris County Sheriff's Office, and that's well and good, but there is also the possibility, was at least broached, that we could approach and entertain a memorandum of understanding with the Georgia State Patrol, Department of Natural Resources, and other enforcement agencies of that sort to also utilize that facility while they're in the area, either writing up cases or handling things in an inclement weather to have a spot to get out of the weather. So that's certainly a possibility that would mean even more of a presence of those kind of persons. So thank you, Mr. Livewell, for everything that you've done for this county and for being here tonight to go along with this and tell us your feelings. Thank you very much.
I think what you just mentioned is what Black Rock Park had for many years. They had an office at the entrance of the park where communications with DNR and state patrol, they were in and out of that office all the time. So that is a possibility that they can here. If they have a new building now, they're not at Black Rock anymore, but they were there for many years.
Mr. Chairman, when we did the deed for the property to make sure it's recreation, the exception was made for, I believe, for public safety. So obviously, whatever we put in there would have to fit, in order to meet the deed requirements, would have to fit within the definition of public safety. And I think the things that you mentioned would fall into that.
Yeah, but thank you for that. It's something you have to keep in mind.
Do you have any estimated cost of what a substation? I know Sheriff's talked about it being unmanned, but as far as 24/7 being unmanned. But do we have any estimate of a cost of that?
We could get one real
I
quick.
think
I
we
mean,
need to get
this
one.
actually, that building actually went to bid, and it failed because
Substation?
the substation actually went to bid at one point. Am I correct?
It sort of kind of did.
Sort of kind of
The
did.
bid was withdrawn.
The bid was withdrawn.
Okay.
And so it,
Well, I would want the bid process, but if we could maybe get some.
But what would the substation consist of?
Yeah.
What would it have restrooms?
We have a
I mean,
small,
we had a small plan.
room.
Yeah, it had two offices.
It's like a small house, in essence.
Yeah.
It had
Probably
two
it's
offices.
smaller than that, probably.
It had two offices and a storage space, a small storage space, an interior bathroom, and an exterior bathroom for those that were coming onto the North Trailhead to use if they needed to.
So there are no restrooms right now in this plan?
Yes, there are. Yes, ma'am.
That's right, I remember seeing that. And, so we're talking septic tanks in that area?
Correct, but it would be minimal for that type of facility.
I'd like to get some quotes on what that would be, based on that drawing that we have.
We could dig it up, I guess.
You're basically talking $50,000 to $80,000.
Yes, sir, that's exactly right.
And I have to say this, I can't help myself. Joey, the more money, the quicker it will get done.
Tell that to Ramona, Jim Woods.
Okay. These are all good comments. Yeah. I agree with Judge Laverne. It's been long overdue, but we have been working through things, and a lot has been happening out there while we get ready, so that I think we're certainly at a point where we can launch into this and get it moving. So I would entertain a motion for this concept plan.
I make a motion that we accept the concept plan for Ellerston Park as presented, with the inclusion of Sheriff's Substation.
About the 5-year schedule and carbon stewardship.
To include the 5-year schedule and Carter Sloop's consulting engineering costs. And proposal to perform the activities.
I'll second it.
Let me ask this, just so that we are protected, I think we ought to add into that, if you will accept that as part of your motion and second, that we have the ability to review and change this as deemed necessary as we move forward.
We need that option.
And I think we need to know what the safety plan is and those kinds of things as we move forward. So we'll probably want to tweak some things along the way, but at least that gives us the protection of being able to protect us and the county as well as the citizens.
I'm just going to say, when you use that terminology, are you thinking, of course, we don't know what the budget issues are going to be in the future, so with the years that are with the general fund, that being one of the kind of the unknowns to be considered also. Yes. Hopefully, things will be bright and rosy, and there'll be plenty of funds, but just in case, I think we need to.
So the general fund kicks in phase 3. We don't know how much. And phase 4 would be 317,000.
At this time, yes. So hopefully there'll be some, grants and things out there that would be great.
Right, and it would be without obligating the future funds without any idea of what revenues will be.
Right.
I would say subject to board authorization during each year's budget process.
Yeah. But it gives us at least an estimate to kind of plan on as we work.
And this estimate over the next 4 or 5 years is a fluid. We can move things from phase 1 to 2 to 4 to 6 and that kind of thing. It's just a good estimate.
I just don't want the 5-year plan to become a 10-year plan.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Well, Loudonville has asked for a faster opening than what we have, but what's the comment made that would open after phase 2, which would be the end of fiscal year 2018, 2019. So that's that's something to be worked on. All right, we have a motion and a second. The amendments and
Get all that next.
specifics are in there. Fortunately, it's on tape.
Could you restate the motion, just so we're all clear?
Thank you. Motion to approve the concept plan, the 5-year schedule, and the proposal from Carter Sloop, with the exception that it include the sheriff's substation and that that we have the authority to make changes as necessary, and for the board to authorize the appropriate funds during the budget process for each year, for each phase, whichever they fall.
Does that seem to be it for everybody?
With the substation, you're not putting that in any year.
I was just thinking that, I think we'll just have to look at the cost and when we can do that, but I don't want to leave that out.
No, that was my concern. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor of that motion, please signify by raising your hands. Motion carries. Next step. All right. Next on the agenda is the County Manager Dowling with project updates.
Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners, this is, we are proceeding with our goals to be accomplished during the fiscal year. Most of them have been accomplished. The highlights of number 7 is the prison camera system. Again, you heard from Warden Nelson tonight that that project is proceeding, will be installed in early May. And all these are getting accomplished. Number 13, the volunteer fire department fire trucks. All of them have been delivered. The last one to be delivered will be delivered in next fiscal year for the Catawba Fire Department. The rails and trails, number 14. The county has received 2 grants for this. We're up to a total of about $1.2 million project. And the T grant is getting loosened up from the federal government. We are actually having, versus emails, we're having actually telephone calls with them. And that is a very good sign when they start calling you and you don't have to call them. So they're calling us. That means things are good. And I'm hoping to bid out the Rails and Trails project, the T grant, and the other 2 federal grants we have received in very late 2018, maybe early 2019. That's when the funds will be available from all the grant sources. Number 18, the 2018 LMIG projects. That has begun. Goat Rock Road has been finished. Waterford Drive, I believe, has been finished. And they are on Cold Springs Road and Davis Lake Road. And that should be finished probably this week or early next week. Number 20, Hardage Road. That has been completed as of yesterday. I think they have to have a little road striping, and that's about it. And we are going to, we're in the process of closing out those paperwork and documents. Number 21, the Hamilton Business Park. That project has begun, and it should be finished by late June. Holland Road paving. We have received 9 of the right-of-way deeds so far out of 14. So that project is going pretty well. we should be knocking on doors by the end of the month on those folks who have not sent in their runaway deeds. Number 26, we just discussed that. That is progressing. Number 27, the bid deadlines for the playground at Pate Park is May 1st, and the tennis court resurfacing is May 3rd. You will see that on the board's May 15th agenda for consideration. Airport, number 29, the wildlife fence. It's on the agenda here in a few minutes by the attorney to approve some more contracts. And that should be done by late June also. The 2 garbage trucks, number 37, they have been delivered and that is complete. Number 42, one of my favorite projects, scrap tire amnesty day. That is completed. Little things are okay with me. We did have 2 very successful days collecting free scrap tires at amnesty day at the transfer station. We have received about 2 complete tractor-trailer loads of old tires. I would estimate about 2,500. We're donating to the county, again, funded by a state grant, and we're still putting the last few in the truck. So that was a successful project, and people appreciated getting rid of their tires for free. Number 43, of course, is completed. Number 51, SPLOST continuation proposal. Again, that plan has been done. The chamber has endorsed it. They are doing a social media campaign. The referendum is May 22nd. Advanced voting begins in about 2 weeks. So May 22nd, we hope people will vote their conscience on that continuation of the SPLOST. Number 53, that's on the agenda tonight, and that was approved by the board, so that is completed also. And you can see the SPLOST and LOST and T-SPLOST collections thus far. We're running according to schedule. And so far this fiscal year, we have we've issued 172 building permits for single-family homes. And we still have 3 months left. So I think we're going to surpass 200 this year, which has been a lot more of each of the 4 previous years. So that's basically in a nutshell. And the county is working on its next year's budget. The board will have a review of that during the retreat on May the 4th.
I have one question. That's the diverse contract.
We still have not made contact.
You've tried and they don't return your calls, or?
I've sent emails and called them once. So no call back. Yes.
We'll try again tomorrow.
First thing.
That's good.
All right.
Excuse me, where's our retreat on the 4th?
It's going to be
In the
at the
county
county offices to have quick access to financial files and records for questions.
It starts at 9.
Yes. And on the agenda thus far, of course, is a budget review before I officially present it on May 15th. Maybe consideration of increasing the hotel motel tax. Nancy, what are we thinking about something? That's what I recall. It's financial things.
I have the PowerPoint presentation. I have a PowerPoint presentation that was given to us when I served on that committee, Department of Community Affairs, to review any complaints from local communities about hotel motel tax. And the PowerPoint lays out when you have to have local legislation and all of that. I'll send that to you. Like I said, we may need to review some pieces of that.
Sure, okay.
All right, thank you. Our county attorney, John Taylor, is not here tonight because his wife had some neck surgery earlier today. But his partner, Jeff Todd, is here to ably represent him. Jeff is well known to us and does a good job. Jeff, I'll turn it over to you. The first thing is the airport fencing project, phase 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As mentioned by the county manager, this is the agreement with McCall Fencing, which implements your decision of February 20th to award the airport fencing project to McCall. And Mr. Taylor has reviewed and approved the contract, so it's ready for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there a motion regarding this?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agreement for McCall Commercial Fencing on the airport fencing construction.
Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion? Questions? All right, hearing none, then all in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. All right, Jeff, the next one is the agreement with Pond and Company for their consultant fees.
A similar announcement, obviously this is related to the same project as the consultant fees for Pond and Company. John Taylor has reviewed the contract and it's ready for your consideration.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the consultant fees for Pond and Company, the amount of $62,603.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. Anything else, Mr. Todd?
No, thank you. Good to be with you all as always.
Thank you.
I may be around for a month or 6 weeks. So
Good.
sure I'll be back.
We will certainly enjoy your company.
I have a clarification on item number 6, the award for the prison inmate health services. Did the approval also include the authorization of Randy and I to execute the contract, which John has already reviewed and
Sure.
approved? Okay.
Yes.
Make sure.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, any other business? Then I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? All right, thank you folks for being here tonight.
Community center that just provides